Times 20-goal scorer goes to the net. Right down the slot. It's Vince Dunn, and he scores. Going back to last season, Pasternak. Now it's 61 goals. In his last 83 games as his one-timer finds the back of the net. Through center and on the go. Ovechkin has it in neutral towards the empty cage. Again. Alex Ovechkin will closer to 800. Who's the draw? Now it's a 3-on-2 for the Stars. Lindell carries up across ice. Landry, and they score! Glendening went to the net, redirects it. A short-handed goal makes it 4-1 Dallas. That will not make the coach happy.
What the puck is going on?
All right, welcome into What the Puck is Going On. We are here in the Deep In Broadcasting Studios here in now, finally, sunny, beautiful Virginia Beach, Virginia. I am Dave Metzger, sometimes known as Nephew Dave. In studio with me, Uncle Steve. We're both here. Steve, what do we think today?
Yo, what's up, Dave?
So it's good to note here, Steve, that this is the finale of What the Puck is Going On. We're going to talk a little bit about it, and then we'll touch base after the series with the round robin, which I think we've had some postings of when that's all going to start.
June 27th, Tuesday night. So, yeah, we'll get caught up by then. We'll let the Stanley Cup play out, and really will only be maybe a week and a half out if the Stanley Cup can stretch itself here to a long, long series. We shall see.
Which, I tell you what, Steve, I feel like it definitely has a chance. So,
well, both of these teams seem to, with the exception of Boston, both of these teams have finished their opponents in pretty handily fashion. I mean, so going a long series will be different than what they're used to in the playoffs for the most part, except for that Boston and Florida series. I mean, besides that, it was complete domination, as both of these teams have quite easily earned their way. Sometimes it's hard to say you can back yourself into a playoff situation or a Stanley Cup situation through a best of seven, right? But, I mean, these teams have definitely earned it. There's no controversy in it. They've both done a very good job, decisive outcomes, and, the puck bounced their way when they needed it to pretty much most of the time.
Right.
And here we are, Stanley Cup, Florida, Vegas, just about evenly matched here on the odds for the series. But, interesting note, you have a basically a number one seed and what would be essentially, right, a number 7 seed in Florida in terms of having that second to last wild card. And they wouldn't even be here if it weren't for the Blackhawks and the Penguins. How about that?
Right.
With Blackhawks beating Pittsburgh right there at the end of the regular season. So
and
that's how fate plays out.
Right. And who would have saw that coming? So it's good to note on that, you could maybe somewhat argue that, the Panthers got lucky and maybe they shouldn't be there. But, they played well. They played well at stretches. We talked about them during the regular season, Steve. They just had kind of stretches where maybe sometimes we would pick on them and then other times we would lean on them. And that just kind of seemed to be how it was for them throughout the, most of the season anyway.
Well, they're the prototype of the team that gets hot at the right time.
Exactly.
I mean, that is, as long as you kind of can make it into the playoffs at any point, if you can turn it on at that point, then you're good to go. We've seen plenty of teams do it. The New York Giants in football.
Right.
Obviously, like what we're seeing now in Florida. I mean, the examples are many, 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 many. I mean,
oh, yeah.
In every
got
sport,
a bunch.
for real.
Yeah. And, you look at the Heat, they won that play-in. You could argue, they were one of the last teams.
Right. Absolutely, too. And, again, I mean, the team who dominates the regular season kind of stumbles. I mean, we've seen that before in terms of, like, the Peyton Manning Indianapolis Colts.
Right.
And as dominant as they were, Peyton only got that one Super Bowl against the Bears where probably should have had more, but
hey,
he couldn't get through Tom Brady.
Exactly. That was his kryptonite. So, I don't think there's any more of the Panthers don't belong there. Even though they went the distance with Boston, it's worth noting how they won that series, Steve. They came back. They were down 3-1, and they win 3 straight games against a historic Boston Bruins team. And man, Steve, like I said, each series, if you're not giving them respect, I just don't understand why. So I don't see why you wouldn't give them some respect here. Although Vegas has looked very good in the playoffs, I will say that, as much as I don't want to like them for whatever reason. They deserve to be here, and I think we're going to be in for an entertaining series. So with that being said, Steve, we'll start with the game itself, and then we'll kind of wrap up here with, the series props and whatnot. So tomorrow, 8:10 p.m., Steve, Panthers are in Vegas for game one. Your over-under is at 5.5, with the Panthers being plus 110 on the money line. The Knights minus 130. It's interesting, Steve. That over 5.5, I think is I think there's room to bump that up. So I think we're certainly going to talk about that. But your over is at minus 120. Your under is at plus 100. Like I just said, Steve, looking at the over, I think there's room to play. So going into game one, what is your plan here? If you're going to make any kind of hockey plays, the last ones of the season, what's your plan here, and how do you attack the game one here?
Well, interesting you ask, because this is going to be right on the spot, because I've had zero thought in this, Dave, because the way that my, I was invested in the Dallas, that fell flat on its face. I played against Florida with the Bruins. I laid off. Then I took Toronto. So I played against Florida twice. I did not really play on them or against them with Carolina at that point. I kind of, tucked my tail between my legs and ran for the hills at that point. But Vegas, all season long, I've been trying to fade them. I've said that on the show for many, many months. I just don't see how that they're this good of a team, and here they are at the very end. So I don't feel very smart when it comes to these two teams at all right now, is the moral of that story. So I just haven't given it much thought, but I do like your angle on the overs here, I think. You're looking at the low price. We haven't had that big onslaught. We did early, but we have not had that big onslaught of late goals when you have a goalie pulled with the empty net, and multiple goals with the empty net. So I'm looking to maybe see some of that start to happen back, just as a mean to the average, or average to the mean, right? So the fact that we just haven't had that makes me think it's coming. If you're going to make me pick a side in this first game, I'm going to take probably Vegas, just because of the atmosphere.
I had a feeling you might say that.
But how many times have I picked against Florida and they've done me wrong? How many times have I picked against Vegas and they've done me wrong? So there's not even, if I can't beat them, join them scenario, because I can't beat either of them. So, that's the scenario that does work. You learn your lesson. You're like, all right, actually, let me start going on this team instead of getting mad with them. But I can't fall into that scenario here. But I'm going to start looking at some over goal prices, I guess. There's one I'm going to sit back mostly and just be a fan, to be honest.
Right.
So there's not going to be any kind of super jackpot trying to achieve here. But, maybe if I have $5 at the end of the day, I'll take a look at some alternative total goals, just so we have something to watch on TV. And, I think 8.5 is a good number, because you get 4-4 going into overtime. I think you definitely have some overtime situations here where you have these teams with multiple goals.
And Steve, I was just getting ready to ask you, how do you feel about a over 7.5 at plus 290, and then you raised the bar to the 8.5 at plus 440?
Yeah, well, any of those I think is good. I think you can play them both, to be honest.
I do too.
As kind of like the popcorn,
right?
A popcorn play that we've talked about, kind of build the ladder, climb the ladder all the way up. Shoot, man. You can't see one of these games being 7-4 somehow. Somehow maybe I could. The goalies have been good, but Bobrovsky has been good. But man, Vegas, they have some talent too. This is going to be a very interesting matchup. Now, at the end of the day, is it going to surprise me if this is a 2-2 game every time out? No.
Right.
But I'll start off at least with the over angles, and then if I need to adjust from there, that's what I'll do.
Right. And Steve, I really like that, scenario of 4-4 going into overtime, because then you're going to get that. And I tell you what, in my eyes, that's a lovely plus 440 right there. I mean, why not just take a chance on that? You know what I mean?
And even when you're down 4-2 with 5 minutes left, you're going to get a goalie pulled.
And with like 4
maybe
minutes left, maybe
you might get 2 empty netters. You might even get the team who pulls the goalie get a
get
power
one.
play. So you could even get 3 goals in that kind of scenario as well. That's what makes me like the 7.5 better. If you don't, you're not relying on getting the overtime. You can live with a 5-3 outcome.
Right. All right, Steve. Now let me touch on this a little bit. You said you sit back as more of a fan. I might not throw a whole lot of action on. Just I want to watch it as a fan myself. I have the Panthers already in a play, so maybe I'll just kind of root for them. And if the mood kind of strikes, then maybe play something in a game. But do you take an alt puck line here with either of these teams? -1.5 for the Panthers, plus 255. -2.5 is at plus 410. And you've got the Knights plus 290 at -2.5. Did any of those kind of strike you?
Well, I mean, that's the same thing here. I mean, as we might accumulate some goals late if we get some empty net situations, and that's how you're going to cover these big lines. I don't think one of these teams is going to thoroughly come out and dominate the other so much. I think this is going to be nip and tuck, but I think they both can score. But I don't know if you're going to see some 4-0s, 5-1s. I don't know if we're going to see those kind of scores, so to speak.
And
I'm just going to give both of these offenses credit. Because they've carried themselves here, and I think the offenses will supersede the goaltending to some extent. There we go. I mean, I think that gives you goals if you just kind of use that formula. I think the one thing I would do, and there's no good way to pin this. I mean, it's definitely throwing a dart at the board, but if you want to have some fun as you're going as the game's in play, then you can always take the next goal scorer.
Yeah,
and those odds are always pretty big. I mean, you get 20, 25 to 1s on some of these really good players still to score a goal. And, the premier players might be 8 or 9 or 10 to 1, but that might be worth throwing, pizza money at here or there or whatever you want to call it. $5 just to kind of keep it interesting as you go along.
Right.
And, if you miss it, regroup and find another.
Yeah, exactly, Steve. I think that's probably
and that being said, too, I mean, I don't think there's any shortage of 2 goal scorers either. If I'm going to say that there's going to be goal scored, we can definitely see some hat tricks. But, I mean, you have Marcia Show at like 10 to 1 for sure. Verhage at 11 to 1. Mark Stone 12 to 1.
Love that
Verhage. Barkov
price.
15 to 1. Reinhardt 14 to 1. Eichels plus 900. William Karlsson, even if you want to get someone like him at 17 to 1. Barbashev, who's had a great series, is 28 to 1 for 2 goals.
Wow.
So Barbashev, who's been playing very well for the Knights. Look out for him too. So there's any number of fun superstars you can try to follow.
Right.
And I don't think the 2-goal angle is a bad one either.
No, not at all.
I think you have a chance to even tag a few of those of different players on the various nights as we go through the series.
Right. So player props might be a little fun angle here too.
Right.
All right, Steve. Well, there's really not much else to say, I don't think. Let's go over a series correct score.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to look at.
And then I guess we'll wrap it up for the season. So here we go, Steve. I'm going to start out here, and I've been riding the train most of the playoffs. Florida Panthers for a 4-3 series victory is at plus 550. I really like that number. I think this goes at least 6 in my mind. So giving the menu we have here, Steve, if you're going to look at it and pick one, we've got Vegas, we've got Florida, What is the correct score for either of them that you would maybe take a look at?
Let's see. I mean, I'm looking at the wrong correct scores. I'm looking at the score of the game. So let me find that here with the series prices.
They're all pretty good numbers in my book, anyway.
Let's see here. Where are we at?
Only 13-1 for a
All right,
Panthers
Stanley
sweep.
Cup. So if I'm looking at that for the series correct score, I'm always one to look at the sweeps first because I like the big payouts. I just don't see how this is a sweep of a series either way,
Right.
especially in 5 games. So I think you would definitely have the right angle for it to go 6 or 7. So from there, it's just a crapshoot. So you're going to take Florida in 7?
I am.
At plus 550. I mean, I can't argue against it. Seriously, Dave. I mean, I think it's going to be one of those. It's going to be the Knights in 6, the Knights in 7, or Florida in 6, or Florida in 7. The problem is you can't play them all,
Right.
because you could actually guarantee yourself a profit if it gets to the 6th game. But then if you're going to do that, you might as well just bet over under for how many games it's going to go.
Exactly.
Right? So that'd be one to look at. I like that, Dave. The other one I would maybe look at is I'm seeing this right now, and we have a alternate number for total goals in a series.
Ooh.
So if we think this is a long series, right, and we kind of have the thoughts that it's kind of a higher scoring game. Let's just say they average 6 goals a game, right? That gives us leeway to have some room on the negative. So we're looking at 42 goals, correct?
Correct.
So over 41 and a half goals is plus 430. I think that's not a bad number, to be honest. Especially if we get some high scoring games right off the bat.
Right.
Then we have that room for error for it to go 6 games. We're not dependent on that 7th game. But that's an interesting little number. I mean, maybe if you had a couple $100 to spare and you wanted to try to make $1,000, you could try to throw that down on this a super over of goals, and then you could just root for the goals nonstop.
Right.
And that'd be a fun way, I think, to attack the series as well. As far as overtime games, I mean, can we get to 3 overtimes and get paid 7-1? I think you can.
I think so. That might be a really.
I actually think you can. So that would be a number to look at too, at plus 700 to get the 3 overtimes in the series. So I would maybe take a look at something like that. Let's see if we can find anything else that may just kind of tip our cap here.
I love that. You know what, Steve? I'm probably going to end up playing that.
The series just total goals is 33.5. I think that goes over no matter what.
Absolutely.
You could do that as a straight bet if you wanted, if you wanted to win a nickel and had a nickel to spend. So 33.5 goals. Let's just say it goes 6 games and you get 6 goals a game. And there you go. You're at 36.
Right.
And, we're hoping that we get one of those, wonky 9-5, maybe not 9-5, but, 7-5 games or something like that. We're really going to chop into that goal total if we can do something like that.
Yeah. And it'd only take one of those to really kind of get that ball rolling for sure.
The other one that's kind of interesting is the leading goal scorer for the series. You could take a look at with the players. And it's basically like a 2-goal scorer payout, but maybe a little bit less. That'd be kind of fun to do. Let's see. Exact overtime games you could bet as well. Man, if they had 4 overtime games, 30-1. But here's what you would do, Dave, I think. So exact overtime games, I think you'd bet 3, 4, and 5. Because if you put $10 down on each one, if you get 3 overtime games, in fact, you can even bet the 2s for insurance, right? So you're talking about $40 investment here, okay? So if it gets 2 overtime games, you'll get paid plus back $280. You're basically going to have a free roll. You'll be in a slight negative. If you have 3 overtime games, you'll lose $30, but you'll win 87, so you'll profit 57. if you play hit 4 overtime games, you'll lose 3, but you'll hit 30-1. Now you'll win 270.
Right.
And then if you can somehow climb all the way to 5 overtime games, you'll hit the 1 5 overtime game bet. You'll lose the other 3. That's fine. $800 profit minus 30 for the losses is a nice 770 out. So if you like the overtime long series play, you can climb the ladder that way, and even adjust your amounts a little bit for the lower ones to get a little bit better payout. So there's some fun ways to attack this where you're kind of getting a better number than what Vegas is trying to portray to you in other bets.
Yeah, I think so, Steve. So that's a good angle to take there. Looks like we've got a little popcorn action going on here for the Stanley Cup final. So Steve,
not too bad for someone who didn't study a lick on this.
No, not at all, Steve. I think you're doing well. All right. Well, anything you'd like to add?
No, I don't see anything for player props for Conn Smythe winner or anything like that. But we'll just look for the goals, and we'll if we need to adjust in whatever minor role we play in this Stanley Cup down the road, that's what we'll do. But we'll give the goals a shot for a couple games, probably even 3 games.
I think that's the way to start, Steve. So I'm going to play probably some overs myself, just to have a little bit of fun with it, not go crazy overboard. And I really like that angle of the overtimes. That's going to be something that I take a deep look at. For sure.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So, all right, Steve, with that being said, before we get out of here, I'm going Florida. Who you got?
So you're going to take Florida in 7, just to be the so Vegas would be the more of the if I can't beat them, join them team.
Right.
So I'm going to have to hop on Vegas, and I'll take Vegas in 7 games.
Oh, all right. So you always a slight difference
in overtime, and what will be the 5th overtime that pays 80-1 odds for you, nephew Dave.
Oh, I love it. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for us here at What the Puck is Going On, Steve. I'm sure you probably feel the same, but this has been a lot of fun here for season 1 of What the Puck is Going On.
Yeah, we've been here since the very beginning, week 1, opening night.
And we've stayed true to it. We've had a couple equipment issues, a couple scheduling issues.
It was some family health issues and interfering here lately on everything, to be honest.
Yeah, just
be patient out there if you think your show's coming and it doesn't show up. Like the rugby show's been taking the brunt of the blows on the family health issues. If you're still listening out there, just know that we're trying. Sometimes things are beyond our control to produce the content.
Right. So just some things that we can't always handle, but I think for the most part, Steve, we've been on it, and I think we've given out some good picks. We've had some good results.
And the round robin is back, Dave. In fact, if there are days I can't do it, you're absolutely going to host it. So.
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to. I am looking forward to the round robin for sure.
All right.
So, Steve, this has been a very fun season 1. Very much looking forward to season 2 as we, try to kind of get things going on the up and up and make this a better product. So, Steve, it's been a lot of fun. We're signing off. He's putting me in the penalty box here for the last programming. So, Steve, like I said, it's been fun. I'm very much looking forward to more and the round robin. And for Dave Metzger, I am signing off. What the Puck is Going On?
The puck is going on.